Welcome to Radio Fixer's channel. Subscribe for upcoming videos. Welcome back. I want to thank you for all the subscribers watching all these videos. Really, my goal is to create these videos so a brand new person can use the information and be able to get into the hobby. It is really a wonderful hobby and very rewarding to bring back something that totally dead back to life and sing again. And this is another John's radio that his daughter brought over so I can check it out to see if it's repairable or not. It is a Motorola, a wooden cabinet. Of course I need to check to see if the clock is working or not. On the chassis, as John he numbered out his radio, this was 192. This is for tuning to the station. I assume the other side is the knob to start it right there. That's the top. The cabinet is in decent condition. It doesn't need that much work really, which that's a good thing. Let me turn it around. Of course, it still had original plugs. These are these are called dangerous plug, and I'm definitely going to replace it. I guess they were fashioned those years, but is exposed. So let's check the back. There's a heavy desktop radio, as you see, is right up here. Model 62CW. It has 6 tubes. Of course, it has an alarm and everything. Again, here you can hook it up to appliance. Most of the radio I work on for those years, they have this. This is for phono input. That's interesting. This is my first radio that I'm seeing. It has this option. They paid $42.95, and that was purchased in 9/25/1954. Wow, this is an old radio. So it has another here, another connection. I need to find out what this is all about. And she mentioned the radio does not work, so I'm going to take it apart to see what's going on. I'm going to check, of course, everything inside. It's interesting that they wrote here which year this was purchased, how much it was. One thing I noticed about John collection, all his radio are in really good condition. And here, there's auto shutdown is here. It still has a knob. This knob is missing. This has a knob, so this is for on and off and auto. I need to figure all these things out. So you need one knob in the back. This is small knobs, but everything else is there. So anyway, let's start taking this apart. It seems like there are 1, 2, 3, 4 screws to remove the back. Alright, this is the last screw. Oh, it's just the board, that's all it is. There's no antenna here. The speaker, of course, is this side, as you can see. These are all small tubes. So let me take the chassis out of the cabinet. Alright, I removed the knobs. This one was a tuning. There's 2 of them inside each other, and you cannot yank it out. You want to break it. You need a long screwdriver. Go inside the cabinet where the bar is and try to move these things out. So you do not want to pull it, you're going to crack it. You have to go inside. So I removed those. I'm going to go clean them. You see they're very dirty. If you see here, it said notice to serviceman. It said before removing chassis from cabinet, adjust all 3 clock handles to clear opening in the dial plate. This is to avoid damage to handles. So that's what I already did. 3 screws in the bottom. 2 of them I removed. This is the last one to remove the chassis from the cabinet. Seems like you just pull these things out like that. That is good. Alright, it all came out in one piece. That's good. Of course, inside the cabinets, always this dirty need to be cleaned, as you see here. Spider web, dead spider, several dead spider in here. So those are going to be cleaned later. Let me show you what they meant with that. This is like a rectangular, as you see, is not round. So you have to make sure all the three pointers, clock pointers, be across so it can come out. Because if it's upside down like that, it's going to bend. So you want to make sure all the three, what they were saying, being this away from this hole, so when you pull the chassis out of the cabinet, it doesn't bend. Let me pull the chassis, show you what that means. If this is this way, or any of them up this section or this section, it will not come out. When you want to take it out of the cabinet, they're going to bend. You see this little area, that's the same as square there. So you want to put all this clock pointer in the area that you can pull it out without they get damaged, what they were meant. I'm glad I read that. Otherwise, this could get damaged and bent or maybe broken. And to find those parts, it's going to be close to impossible. Alright, hopefully it's going to help you so you don't get those things damaged when you pull it out. Speaker is in pretty good condition. I'm really surprised. It looks just perfect. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to cover the speaker so it doesn't get damaged. Because you easily can put tool through the speaker or your finger. Always cover it. Always cover it. That's the first thing you want to do. I see this bulb here is missing. That's a big size. It's the first time I see how large this is. Usually, they're pretty small tube. I have a bunch of small, not the big one like this. So let me cover the speaker, then we can check under the chassis. Alright, I covered this with cardboard. There's a 2-layer. As you can see, I covered it because this was not large enough for it, you see. So that I've used the cardboard. And it's going to work good, you know. I prefer use this type, but I do not have that size. So put 2 or 3 layers here. Make sure it's secure before you get it started. Okay, let's look at under the chassis. Such a heavy duty wire here. The dial cord, crazy. It goes so many different directions. This is the under the chassis. Seems some of the capacitor has changed and some of them has not. So I'm going to test all of them and replace them. Like this one here, the other 3 up there was replaced. That's a pilot lamp, and the pilot lamp is missing, and it's a pretty large one. As I mentioned, I do not have that size. I need to find out the schematic to see what size I need to order. Sometime, you know, you need that. Without that, the radio might not work. I need to check the schematic to see is that accurate or not. This is the tuning condenser. Is a 3-section. Very interesting. I'm not sure what that is, why they did it, but we're going to figure it out, right? I am trying to figure this capacitor. This is like a paper capacitor, but they just, you know, put some type of coating over it. But as they go bad, that's what my understanding is. You know, they call them bumblebee capacitors. To read this type of bumblebee capacitor, I built a database which I select the colors, then it tells me the value of the capacitors. It's so hard to read this. So I took a picture with my camera. If you zoom it, it's blue, gray, orange, black, blue. But here I couldn't tell that, you know, I thought it was blue on blue. So sometimes the camera, you know, with the phone, you know, you can zoom it in and it tells you exactly the color. So I'm going to key these colors into the database to see the value of this capacitor. Those are easy to read, the paper capacitor. Usually they mark them, you know, they actually write over it, which I will show you those. But these are sometimes hard. You need some type of system to read this. So again, I designed this database to make my job easier. So let's key this in to see what it's telling us. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go right here, select bumblebee capacitor. So we're going to select blue, gray, orange, and black. And then here blue. Here the system automatically, after I select all those colors, is telling me this is picofarad, or they call it MMFD. And that is a 6800. The minimum can be 54.4 thousand. The maximum is almost 81,000 nanofarad. That's a 68, just 68. And if we want to convert it to microfarad, that is a 0.068. Of course, the voltage also tells us that's a 600 volt capacitor that we have to use to replace this. I create this to make my job simpler. Now we're going to look at another place for 0.068 to see what is compatible capacitor we can use to replace this bumblebee. So I'm going to close this. Here is the compatible capacitors. I'm going to select this. It's telling me, the old capacitors. That is the new one, which they call a yellow jacket. I'm going to use this drop down, come and select the proper value from other page. Here is the system telling me that I need to select capacitor, this yellow jacket, usually marked with 683. Of course, here I have the opportunity to change the percentage. I'm going to just keep it in 10%. And here it gives me a good breakdown. If it's a microfarad, what's the range should be. Nanofarad, again, the range, minimum and maximum, or picofarad, as you saw in other side. Alright, so that is how I know quickly what type of capacitor I need to replace the old one. I made this to make my job easier. Hopefully soon it's going to be available and I can offer it to you guys as well. This is a capacitor that we are looking at, and you see it hooked up to phono jack right here. So let's check a schematic to see what the value it shows for this capacitor on a schematic. After running it in database, I want to double check, that I read the colors correctly. So here, right here where the phono input is, the schematic shows that is C7. And that is, of course, C always is capacitor, right? C7, and there is a 68,000. So it matched the color code that we read. So just want to confirm, I read correct colors, because as you saw how faded it was. The good thing about the schematics are, here they give us a note. And that's why you need the schematics, so sometimes these notes are really helpful. It talks about that the capacitor indicated in MMF unless otherwise specified. Also is talking about if somewhere you see K, that means 1,000 ohm. Sometime in other older schematics, be careful with that, they call this meg. And of course through the years they change it to K. And then I'll give you more information here. These are very helpful. Let me show you one other thing here. As we discuss here, MMF, but if you look at here and see for this capacitor here, this is MF microfarad, and that is a 0.05. So that's why you need those notes to see how they mark each of this. The schematic, it shows part but not exactly what they are. And so I put some information on antique radio forum, and people get back with me and they said what type of bulb I need to use. As you remember, this one was missing, so I didn't know the size of it. This pilot bulb on 120 volt and is a 10 watts. So I received it on the mail. Also, I received these 3 tubes for this radio. This one 12A T6 was totally bad. The other 2, they were right in the margin, So, but I ordered all this since she has a radio that's gonna work sounds well. So now I have all these parts that I received, so I can start working on the radio. I'll be honest with you, it takes so much time to make these videos, editing, uploading, and make sure there's enough information that it actually makes sense, if you want to follow. At this time, I want to take the opportunity and thank my subscribers with their uplifting comments. You always encourage me to upload more videos, since this is just a hobby of mine. Again, I appreciate you. Enjoy all these videos, and you all have an awesome day. Take care. If you're interested to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and you will be notified when a new video being uploaded. You have a great day.